you scrimmaged two Power 5 teams that traditionally have been very successful. What did you learn about your team coming out of those two that maybe you didn't know going in?
Yeah, those are always, I think, except for that first year, we've always done that. Who knows what's the best if you do one of those in one exhibition. We did obviously go to Italy, so we played a little bit in that setting. But you go against those teams. We scrimmage for 40 minutes, and then we add another session. And maybe if guys didn't play as much, you want to look at just different combinations. But it's good because obviously, Maryland and UConn are quality teams, and it's hard fought, and you're going against really what you're going to go against. And so it was good for us to play against them. What did we find out that we didn't know? I think it's just a continuation of the things you need to work on, the areas that, where you look at stats. Boy, we got exposed in this area. Here we did some things well. And then even from a personnel standpoint, you can throw guys in and look at that, and you're not worried. The crowd's not in there. You say, all right, let's see how this combination does. But I think having the European trip and this, I think I learned that, we do have quality depth. I'd like to say I think we shoot the ball a little better than last year, although that obviously can come and go. And, I think that'll have to be a strength of ours. We have a very experienced team, and then we have a very young team. It's like almost two teams. And but I think we saw that. But when you go against the UConns and the Marylands, you get a different taste of physicality on the glass. Running, trying to guard different actions, and it just shows you where you got to keep working. It's just an ongoing process, but I tried to share with our guys before the UConn game, I think why initially it was a comment why the Bucks and the Celtics have gotten off to a good start. Someone said they're both clear compared to maybe the other teams on their identity, and then they just go out and play. And that's what you're kind of trying to establish. So because we played in Italy, because we have some experienced guys, let's try to be as clear as we can in our identity and what we need to do, learn about it, and then just go out and play. And I always think, players play best when they're freed up to play. We talk about playing with freedom and joy, but obviously you have to have the soundness and the discipline to go with it. So, those were some of the things. There's just those areas that stand out, Jeff, that you always look at each game that you can tighten up. Soundness with the ball, play on the glass. Usually it goes to those little areas of being tight, and you get in games, and sometimes you get exposed with someone that you're not as sound and sure as you need to be in the key areas.
Tony, along the lines of having almost two different rosters, young and old, how does a young player such as Isaac McNeely fit in your mind after having seen him in Italy and then in the scrimmages?
Yeah, I think he's all the young guys, and you hear me say this every year, but it's always true. They show great promise, great flashes. And some guys will just be called into action because they're needed in certain spots. I thought Isaac McNeely showed some really good stuff, as all of them did, but specifically him in Italy. And then in these scrimmages, he brings a dynamic kind of combo type of guard that stretches the defense, and he's continuing to learn the defense, and he stretches it with his shooting. These guys, the young guys, when they get to play with Kihei and Jaden and Reese and our other Armand guys that have played, that helps them. But he showed that almost every one of our young guys seem like they got a shot, they take it. They play pretty fearless in some ways, and I like that. And I like that about Isaac. And, I go back a year and think, boy, the biggest he's playing, in West Virginia, in in Polka, Idaho, same with all the guys, and these are always new experiences. So I'm excited about this group, I really am, and what they will become. And Isaac has had a strong start, certainly has areas to improve, but he's done some good stuff. The blue-white scrimmage that you guys, I don't know how many of you guys came to it, guys you saw, I didn't think it was a great defensive performance by either team, but you saw them knock down shots and play some pretty good ball as all of them did. So,
Tony, I ask you every year at this point kind of where you're at with the defense. Every year you kind of say work in progress, we're getting there. But are you further along because of Italy, because of the experience? Like, do you feel better about the tightness of the defense, or are you at the same point kind of you always are on the state?
I mean, I think the real games will, and our schedule's terrific, starting right away in our first one. But, you hope just guys that are in our program have a little more know-how, and hopefully the depth you have helps you play a little harder. But still a work in progress, as it always is. I can't say yet, but we're playing hard, and I've liked that. And, we'll find out soon enough for sure.
Tony, can you address the potential of your backcourt, and do you think can you see Reese taking his game to a new level this season?
Yeah, I sure hope so. I think every guy really went to work on their game, and they've gotten stronger in the weight room, and we really challenged them. And I think last year those returners, they did some good things, of course, but it left a desire to try to improve and get better individually and collectively as a team, and they took it to heart. And I think Reese, you see his defensive anticipation, his hands. I thought he's gotten a little more aggressive with his ability to attack the paint. They all have worked hard on their shot. And so I think he has definitely improved. And, again, we saw that in Italy, certain games where he really looked good, and certainly in the scrimmages. So I think I'm hopeful, because he's now into his third year, and you've heard me say that when you become an upperclassman, I think going into that third year, it just feels a little different. And I think it's your first year is your first year. The second year you should make a big improvement. But when you become an upperclassman, there should be doesn't mean you're perfect, but a steadiness there. So I hope we're going to see the fruits of his labor, and he'll be an important piece.
Tony, in a similar vein, there's always whispers coming out of secret scrimmages. That's how it always goes. But also seeing Caden play in Italy, he stretched the floor a little bit more. He seems to have a mid-range game a little bit more. Has his game gotten more complete, and where would you like to see him keep improving as you head into the season? Yeah,
he added some good strength this offseason, and that's what we really challenged him with, and he worked hard on just his game. And, if he has a rhythm shot, we want him to take it in the mid-post if they drop off, or that mid-range, and, you saw some of that in Italy. So he's done that in the scrimmages. So, absolutely. I think he's long, he's active, and we want him to just attack the areas that he can impact the game in, and add those other supplemental things, knocking down a shot, making a play, but, catching a lob, running the floor, hopefully being that anchor to our defense and getting all over the glass on both ends, and then, making some plays off of some drives and things like that. I think he's now in his, third year, so same as Reese, you just see he's a little more, he is more comfortable. And so I think that has helped. So he had a really good game against the team in Italy, and he's shown some good flashes for sure. And I think he's an improved player with his strength, so that's helped.
With Jaden and Armand in their second year in the system, where do you think they've improved defensively, and what do you think they understand about the defense now that maybe they didn't throughout last year?
Yeah, I just think, repetition, you become a better you understand how hard you have to play, how continuous you have to be. That's a new thing to a lot of the young guys coming in. And you get a little better at anticipating and understanding angles. It's just little by little, incrementally, they look more comfortable. Again, they're a year in Coach Curtis's strength and conditioning program, so you hope they're laterally quicker and stronger. So all those things just add to it. And again, I think it was Jerry Tarkanian who said, about his teams, the more I put in their minds, the slower their feet become. And again, when your mind can be clear, there's certain things you have to understand. There's a process you have to go through, but when your mind's a little clearer, you can move a little quicker. You're not, he who hesitates is lost. I don't know who said that. I don't think that was Tarkanian, but might have been probably Lombardi, right? I don't know. Or John Wooden, right? That's probably it. That sounds like a John Wooden. So yeah, I think just the know-how and comfort. Okay. And, there's always new things you're looking at and doing, but they do feel more, they seem to be obviously a little more established. And, as I tell the young guys when I try to encourage them, next year, the first years, next year, you're going to be looking at those incoming first years, and you're just going to be like, I feel sorry for you, man. I understand. This is hard, because it's a lot when you come in, no matter what system. Everybody makes a bigger deal. Well, whether you're going to any system, it's just faster, the volume of work, the intensity, and there's a lot going on in that mind. And they're dealing with a lot of things on the court, off the court. So those guys are more established, and they're older too.
Yeah, Tony, depth-wise, 2 years ago, you had a lot of guys fighting for a rotation spot. Last year, you had kind of a thinner rotation. This year, you come back with a much bigger roster. Just kind of as you're figuring out how you want to shape your roster in this day in college basketball, how do you see maybe the rotation switching, as y'all kind of get into the season?
Yeah, I think, the competition, the games will reveal that, how guys perform. Practices are pretty spirited, and it's not always clear cut. I think as the season evolves, you get a feel for how guys are going. There could be other circumstances, but what we did in Italy probably won't work. We sat 3 guys, and I had 9 available, and we played them all equal minutes. I'm sure everybody would love that, but it won't. But you got to decide what your rotation is, how comfortable you are in terms of, do you go, some teams go 9 deep, some 10, some 8, some 7, and I think just establishing that, and part of that with this preseason schedule. You're going to have opportunities to see yourself in a lot of hotly contested or high-level games, and we'll see how that plays out. Some of it's how guys improve once you get into games, because you don't know. Some guys practice, and all of a sudden they get in games, and different things happen, good or bad, and it's just what you sort of keep evaluating and seeing. So I don't have an exact answer. We are a hard and fast, 8-man, 9-man rotation, 7-man. Who can say? Last year we got down to about 6.5, 7, so the year before was more.
How good of a rebounding team is this right now, and is that an area that needs to get better?
Offensively or defensively? Either one. I think there's guys that certainly can go to the glass on the offensive end, and they should be able to get some, and you always challenge your team to do that. Defensive rebounding it's just one of those cornerstones. You better be rock solid in that. And that's a challenge, to be a good defensive rebounding team, especially the likes of, the teams that either, we've played. It was different in Italy. You get American basketball's a little different, a little more athletic, and how hard guys go. Some teams send 3 or 4 to the glass. Some teams send 2. That's a work in progress. That's something you keep working on. I think we have some improvement to do in that area, because we talk about always eliminate the things that are going to get you beat, eliminate losing. You guys have heard me say that so many times. Eliminate the offensive rebounds, one and done them, and take care of the ball and make teams play against a set defense. You kind of start with those. And so I think you got to be hopefully clipping at, A minuses, B pluses, or A's as this thing gets going. And that's when we work on hard, and when they don't do it well, we challenge them and we practice it harder.
Tony, your national ranking in three-point accuracy last year was in like the mid-200s. When you're that below average, how much does that?
It's not mine personally.
Yes, correct.
Okay, good. Talk like that. No. I got
Yes.
you. I think. Go ahead. Finish the question.
But how much does that compromise what you're trying to do inside the arc?
Yeah, I mean, spacing is really important. It's the name of the game, in so many ways, and that's how a lot of teams are playing. I do think we have guys that have improved their shooting this season, and it's still always about getting quality shots, but spacing matters when guys can stretch the floor. We talked about, or you asked about McNeely. I think, Reese has improved his shot. Kihei has. Armand, all of them have worked. You have other guys. So, Ben, we haven't talked about him, but when the floor can be spaced, we have, time will tell what kind of shooting team we are, what level, but I think we, again, have improved our depth, and our shooting is more of a threat, outside shooting this year, so that will help. So, what was that? Did you ask anything specific, more specific than that? So that's, last year, at times you felt it. And again, if you're getting open shots and guys take them, shooting's a funny thing, you want to take them, but certainly it allows you when you're stretching it to either let your guards get to the rim more, drop it inside, so it makes a difference.
Coach, you talked about the potential for more depth this season. Do you think that also correlates to maybe more lineup flexibility and versatility with guys like Isaac, Ben, who can sort of play different positions like that? And what do you think that does for your team?
Yeah, I told our guys, we have 12 guys that can play. Will 12 play? No. And Chase Coleman has done a good job for us. He's gotten better, actually. I haven't talked about him, but, and I said, all right, right now I've won practice. I said, all right, here's our guys that are top 7 right now. I said, you top 7, any of you could start. I said, you other 5, any of you could get into the top 7. And a lot of you in that top 7 could slide to the, 8 through 12 or 13, however you want to do it. I think it could, and again, the games will determine that. So flexibility, absolutely. Starting lineups, yeah, I think you could have flexibility. You could go small, you could go big, you can shift some guys around and do that. So I think that's real, and I hope our guys, the chemistry will be good, and it's just there's going to be different guys at different times, and I think that's something we did not have last year. We were pretty locked in, and so I like that, the ability to do that, and I started the same starting lineup the first 2 scrimmages, and we'll see heading into this one, but I think there's a case where you can, depending upon the team you're playing, it could be different guys at different times. So, good question.
Tony, your defense has been anchored over the years by guys like Akeel Mitchell, Darian Atkins, Isaiah, who tremendously athletic at the back of the pack, but also very knowledgeable about where they're supposed to be. Caden seems like he's got the athleticism. Where is he in terms of the knowledge, the comfort?
Yeah, that's important. I think if you look at our numbers, they've the last maybe 3 years have dropped a little bit defensively. We've been okay, but last year, though we didn't shoot it well, our points per possession were okay. Our points per possession defensively weren't great, and we have been blessed. Going from DeAndre at that 4 spot, even obviously Mamadi, Isaiah, Akeel, Darian, and the list, Braxton, the list goes on and on. And then Sam, it's unbelievable what he's doing in a lot of our guys, and Trey. Sam, a little more skilled, not as athletic as those guys, only 1 year in the system. Trey 1 year, Jaden 1 year, and so it's a little different in that spot. I think that 4 anchor spot and 5 have been, and I didn't mention Jack too, significant. Caden's got the length. He's got, I think, the athleticism to be important for us. And, with Ben and Jaden, it's a little different, but they've got that's a key. That spot's key for us. So I hope Caden can bring an anchor. I hope Poppy can. And then, we got experience in the backcourt with Kihei and Reese. And then that 4 spot, Jaden's got a year, and Ben's going to have to use his mind. But it's not you wouldn't say, well, that's DeAndre, that's Akeel, that's Isaiah, that's Braxton. It's a little different, and I think that spot's an important spot. So we keep working on it, and maybe there's some adjustments here and there, and I'm hopeful we can take a step defensively. That's going to be important this year.
You mentioned chemistry. How would you rate the chemistry of the squad right now, especially having that trip to Italy, having the scrimmages, and having this experience mixed with a lot of the new guys? Like, how would you rate where it's at comparatively?
Really good, and that's what, at the start of the year, it's always good, but that trip that's one of the great advantages of that. The things we got to experience and do were remarkable, and so I think they're good. Our leadership, our older guys, they're about the right stuff. Our young guys are. That's what we try to really continue to recruit to, what we want in this program. We talk about it a lot. We challenge our guys. We challenge ourselves. Can we be the kind of team that represents what's important to us? Obviously, our pillars are important to us, how we are as teammates, how we care for each other, and still be great competitors. And I love that about Kihei and Reese and Jaden and Armand and Poppy and Kate. I go through the guys, and every one of them, they're just they learn. They're encouraging each other, but they'll get after each other, and they're good with the young group. And I've seen the young guys kind of band together too, which they need to. So I think that part is good, and I think that it's a healthy team. We've been blessed. We've been good that way for pretty much most of the years we've been here. But this team seems to enjoy each other.
Tony, perimeter defense was something that went a little bit below par last year. Did you challenge the guys in the offseason in that department? And how do you challenge players like, say, Kihei or Armand compared to maybe the new guys who have more length? How does that work? What was your message in the offseason?
Yeah, I think, as I said, defensively we probably weren't at our best. And Kihei and Reese, have a lot of experience. They played a lot of games, and they're quick, and they can really get after the ball, but they've got to be as complete as they can. A lot of times it was Armand. We used, whether it was Cody or other guys in there. And, it's just, I wish I could say there's this secret formula for defense. It's just every day you work at it. In the offseason, you talk about getting stronger, and strength does help with defense. And, obviously you get as quick as you can laterally, but it's what you do when you get together and what you demand as coaches and what you hold each other accountable to. And, I think Kihei and Reese know they have great challenges in front of them, but they can be the, when you talk about bookends, your point guard or your guards, and then that back line, if you can be strong in those areas, it can really set up your defense. And the young guys, when they struggle, yeah, we have good chemistry, but there's some, there's accountability, and that's what we want. And we challenge them, and guys know that. So that's what you want when the players are leading each other, and I think they know that holds the key this year, because a couple years ago, we could win with our defense. Last year, we couldn't do that. We'll see about this year. But I think you have to be balanced in both, and I'm hoping we'll be more balanced this year than we were last year. I hope we improve in both areas enough to make a difference.
Coach, this is something you've talked about before, but the changing landscape of NIL, how are you balancing that with your team's core values?
Yeah. No, I think it's great. We have I think our guys are about the right stuff, even the guys we're recruiting, and I think there's good opportunities for young men, so I have no problem with it. It's just, if that becomes the main thing and we get consumed with that, then I think that would not be the case. What's great about Virginia, what's great, I think, about our program is you can kind of have it all here. I talk about that a lot. The experience on the court, improving, hopefully being a part of a winning team, your academic experience, your social experience, and growing together. Now there's opportunities, for NIL opportunities, maybe perhaps not like some, you hear crazy stories, so who knows what's true, but if it ever gets out of bounds or out of whack for our program, that'll be a bad sign. But it doesn't mean it's wrong for guys to pursue that or have opportunities. But if it just becomes all-consuming, or that's the one thing, then I think it's not in the right place. And if that's what someone wants, when we recruit, we're very clear. There'll be opportunities, but if that is your main thing, where I can get the best NIL deal only, and it's not about the whole, what UVA has to offer, what this program does, the kind of people, then, we got to talk about that and see. But there's still opportunities. And I think as time goes by, I hope the water finds a level, or whatever the saying, however it goes. But I hope that this place will stand and people realize, no, this is about the right stuff with all the opportunities, not just chasing one thing. And that's what I'm hoping. But it is a different time, and we'll see. And that's why you hold on to your core values. That's why they're there. That's why it's the foundation, because when the other stuff starts shifting, you better have a strong foundation. And I think we do, regardless of great success or not. This program is built on stuff that has lasted, and I'm grateful for that. And whenever that day comes when I'm not here, I'll know that it was built on the right stuff. And that's the one thing that, I think is the best thing about right now Virginia basketball, and what the young men bring to this program, what they take away from it, and we've got to enjoy a whole lot of good times with it.
Tony, you have often said that a final decision on a red shirt would rest with the young man and his family. But is that a potential for this team, given,
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, certainly you'll have those conversations, with the guys. I always do that as you get into this week. And you always talk about it. Okay, some guys, they say, this is what I want to do. You leave it up to them. But I think as a head coach, as a staff, you look at, players and you say, here's what I see. How do you feel about these scenarios? I'm big on saying, here's a best case scenario. Most people can handle best case scenarios. I found that in my life. All right, here's maybe what could happen, what I see right now, and then here's, hey, a tough scenario. How are you? How do you feel about these scenarios? And then you have conversations. Again, I wish you could look into a crystal ball and say, this is how many minutes you're going to get. This is what's going to happen. Again, 12 guys, 13 guys are not going to play, so there's going to have to be some patience. The good thing for our young guys is, we're losing 5, however many guys are. There is such an opportunity in the following year, and this year's about hopefully us having a great year, them helping. But, man, you talk about a wide open door, and I think that's hopeful. And that's why in this recruiting process you say, all right, opportunity matters. And so whatever, maybe it's in 2-year increments you're looking at it. Man, there's such a wonderful opportunity for all those guys, no matter what happens the following year. And then you'll earn what you get this first year with a veteran team. For the young guys, even if the veterans have to earn what they get. So some guys might be inclined to say, hey, I'm okay with this scenario, and then they'll make their decisions based on that. And we've got a great track record of both ways. Guys that have redshirted and what it's done for them, and guys that have, gotten a little bit of time and been more ready than next year. So that's going to be, I think, some of the conversations we have for guys to think about. And I'll be okay with whatever our guys decide, but I'll try to give my advice.
Coach, you have some pretty high-profile non-conference games early this year on your schedule: Baylor, Houston, UCLA, Illinois. Are you excited for those games as potential measuring stick type games for this team?
Yeah, I think who you open up with. I mean, any coach that starts talking beyond your opening game is making a mistake. And so, of course, the schedule is really good. And I think players want to play against good competition. I think they're just excited to play this year. And get after it starting Monday. It's hard to believe that it's here, but yeah, no, it's a good schedule from starting Monday, and then you get ready, and it always is that way. And those games from last year that are some of the turns. We learned a lot in some of the hard outings we had, and playing against some of those bigger name teams. Certainly it'll reveal, but Navy was pretty good last year too. I remember that awfully well. So we'll just worry about Monday night and get as ready as we can, because I know that's a well-coached outfit and a good team.